Hi, Alex Maximic here. I'm a commercial real estate broker with over 30 years of experience in the greater Toronto area. I want to speak to you today about some of the risks that are involved in subleasing commercial real estate space. So under a sublease, there's typically three parties involved. There's the landlord, there's the original tenant, who now becomes the sublandlord, and the subtenant. So what are the concerns that you should look out for? Well, first and foremost, can you sublease space under the original lease? Typically, a tenant should be able to sublease space based on the sublease clause, which typically will state that with the prior written consent of the landlord not to be unreasonably withheld. And what is reasonable and what is unreasonable? Well, typically a landlord will want to approve that subtenant based on their business experience, their business acumen, and their financial strength, pardon me. Also, be mindful that in Ontario, under Section 23 of the Commercial Tenancies Act, you typically are allowed to sublease your space, unless, of course, it's written otherwise in your lease. What are some of the concerns that you may have? Well, under a default by the original tenant, the subtenant is going to be obligated to perform all the obligations of the original tenant. So be mindful of the fact that you're going to have to start paying rent, which is the rent specified in the lease, not in the sublease. The rent in the lease is typically a higher amount that is in the sublease, and you may have to pay rent based on a larger square footage. Typically, a sublease may not be for the whole of the premises, but if there's a default, you're going to have to pay for the whole of the premises, and failure to do so may get you evicted, and more than likely you'll be sued for the rent due by the original tenant. So keep that in mind. What are some of the practices that you can use in terms to mitigate such risk? Well, you can amend the sublease so that you're only required to pay rent under the sublease and not the lease itself. Secondly, that you're only obligated to pay, or you're only obligated to perform the covenants, I should say, under the sublease and not the whole lease. And then that you're only responsible for the covenants during the lease and not prior to executing the sublease. So those are some of the things to watch out for. Also, please make sure that the original tenant cannot surrender their lease, and if they wanted to do so, better yet, it's better to get an option from the existing landlord to step into the lease and be able to lease the premises directly. Another thing just to keep in mind is that you can only sublease the space based on the terms and rights of the original lease, meaning that the sublandlord cannot provide additional terms and rights under the sublease. So, if you've got an existing use clause, you're going to have to abide by that existing use clause. Hope that clears up a few things. If any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you review your lease clause. And have a great day. Thank you.